So, Rose, I'm so excited to have you here with me today,
Excited to
and
be here.
sharing a bit about your business and your journey. And actually, do you know how long you've been in business? Like when you started? Do you remember when the start date was?
So I officially feel like I've been in business for about 2.5 years now. I worked with you
Okay.
when I was still getting my certification, and I had like a few beta clients. And then I feel like I opened for real
Yeah.
the spring after that. So about 2 years. Yeah, two and a
Okay.
half years. Yeah,
Okay. Awesome. It's crazy how time flies. I'm
I
like
know.
talking to people. I'm like, how has it been that long? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. But if you want to start by just doing a little introduction, telling us who you are, what it is that you do with your business, that would be awesome.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Rose Yadzio. I am an integrative nutrition and health coach, and I help women in perimenopause and menopause balance their hormones to break through weight loss resistance, get more energy, and sleep better. I'm a former elementary school teacher. This is my second career. And yeah, I was so glad to find you while I was still figuring it out. So here we are two and a
Yeah,
half years
love
later.
that. And what inspired you to start your business? Like,
Mm.
yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
So for me, it was really my own journey. Um, so I developed an autoimmune condition in my 30s. And then I felt like I had that under control. But then as I got into my 40s, I was finding that that wasn't the only issue, that my hormones were really imbalanced. I was exhausted. My blood sugar was really imbalanced. And I just went through years of trying to figure it out. And I was told, well, this is just quote unquote normal. This is just what happens as you age, and this is just the way it is. And what I found through my own work and finally finding some functional medicine doctors who could help me and my own health coach that wasn't really the case. And it took me years to figure that out. And so it really motivated me to help other women who were on this journey and were getting told that their symptoms were common, and they might be common, but they're not inevitable.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
was really my motivation.
Yeah, I love that. And yes, there's a huge difference between it being common and it being like you said, inevitable or normal,
Hmm.
right? Or like
Right, right.
your body's functioning at its best.
Exactly,
So
exactly. And I try to use the word inevitable instead of normal, because I feel like, so many midlife women think that we're broken, right? You hit a
yeah.
certain age and you have to kind of fix yourself. And there's just so much diet mentality that haunts so many of us who for, decades have been on that yo-yo on and off diet cycle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I am seeing I think like a surge kind of in interest around perimenopause and menopause and women wanting to help other women around that because it's
yes.
so hasn't been talked about historically or studied or addressed in any way. And it's obviously like a huge issue. I mean, a whole half of our life is, lived that way. And it's just, yeah, I think it's great.
It's so true. I'm so excited that there's so much more attention being focused on it. And
Ah,
also, if a 30-year-old influencer is telling you about perimenopause and menopause, yeah, you maybe might want to go with someone who's actually been through it.
totally. Totally.
So, yeah, you have to be careful where you're getting your information, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's great power in helping people that you can relate to. And if you've been through something yourself and um, can help people from that perspective. Of course, you can learn a lot of great information in books and courses and all that
Hmm.
stuff, but when it's actually wisdom, which, is something you've embodied and been through and understand from a perspective of doing it yourself, that's a whole different thing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Perfect. So, I would like to talk a little bit about like your experience of starting and building your business. And
Mm,
I think some of maybe like the challenges that you've come across or the lessons you've learned. I think this is something that doesn't get talked about very much. And it's always nice to just, I think, hear about this so that people
hmm.
know what to expect potentially.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for me, well, I'll be really honest. And the reason that I found you, was because in your marketing, you were saying if you're an introvert and you're starting a coaching business, I am for you. And I was like, oh, hello, that is me.
Uh,
The thought of getting out there on social media was so intimidating for me. And I did it. And, with your help, you really helped me set up the basics for that. But, I think the hardest part is definitely been the marketing.
mm,
And what I've learned is that it's not all social media. There's so many ways to market your business. I get most of my clients from my doctor's office. My doctor will
mm,
I have a great relationship with her, and she will
love that.
actually give my business card out to women who are struggling because she knows what the problem is, but she can't develop a plan for them. I've actually had a lot of luck marketing that way. So I think, that's been a big lesson for me is that, it's just not one way to market yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I love that so, so much because I think so many people start businesses now and they think I just have to market through social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I'm finding actually is most of my clients I've been working with in the past year plus are having much more success marketing offline.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
And
think
then,
that you do have to have like an online presence. So if when people
yeah.
find you, they have a place to go and
Yep.
okay, here's the information. I think that too, and it could be just the age group that I work with. I'm having a lot of luck like in Facebook groups, things like that. Definitely in person. So, you do have to put yourself out there, but there isn't just that one way to do it.
Totally, totally. Yeah, I think using a variety and then you kind of have to like try things out and see what works for you because what works for one person doesn't work for another person, which I think is kind of a trap that a lot of people fall into too, where they learn like how to market from someone who teaches them this is what I did, so this is what you should do. And
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it worked for you, but it may not work for someone else based on, personality or the things you enjoy or what's best for your ideal client. The best way to get in front of them specifically can be different. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. So is there anything else? Like I do love to talk about marketing because I do think that's one of the biggest things that people really get stuck with. But
Mm-hmm.
anything else that you have found particularly helpful when it comes to marketing and growing your business and getting clients?
Mm. I think, just to keep an open mind and to keep learning for me, I was able to, I love to learn and I'm always bringing new things into my practice and not just thinking about doing it one way. So when I first started out, as many health coaches learn to just have, clients and you do that until you're full and then maybe you do a group program. And maybe because I was a former elementary school teacher, I was really called to do a group program sooner than many. So I
I
did do
love it.
that and that works
Okay.
really well for me. I brought in some functional testing. I got a certification to do that. And it's just been, kind of a slow process. You don't know everything when you start. Like you
Yeah.
have to build some sort of that ascension model, but which has been a learning experience for me. But I think the biggest thing, honestly, is that you just have to start. That phrase about taking messy action, you know, and especially if anyone is like me and a bit of an overthinker, my best success is when I've just kind of said, just gonna put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard when you're trying to plan for like 10 steps in advance and you're like, what if this happens? And what if this happens? I
Hmm.
need to be prepared for this. I need to be prepared. And then you just end up, like you said, kind of stuck overthinking everything because your brain is trying to figure out things that haven't even happened yet, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Right, exactly. And it's so easy to compare ourselves to, whether we see another coach on social media or we have our eyes on someone else's business and they're probably 10 steps ahead of us because they've been in business longer.
Yeah,
And it's hard to not compare yourself. So that part's hard.
yeah, yeah.
And the less you can do that, the better off you are.
Totally. Totally. And a lot of times when you are comparing yourself to other people, you're not even seeing the reality. You're seeing what you see online potentially, which is there's a whole story behind everyone's
Exactly.
online presence, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, it's very interesting. Like you can have a huge following, and have an unsuccessful business, or you can have a really small following and have a very successful business. So,
Hmm.
your following and your presence online and stuff is definitely not an indication of your success in your business.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And do you, out of curiosity, do you still work with people one to one? Do you just work with people within a group? Do you have like kind of how does that usually work?
Yeah, I do both, which has been
Okay.
been really nice. So it kind of depends on what people want and what they need. And really, like I launch my group a couple of times a year. So if somebody comes to me and it's not one of those times, I don't want them waiting. Well, I can help you, but not for 4 months. Um, so we can start working together. So that's the part that has evolved over time. You start with that one-on-one offer, and then okay, you've got, last fall I had 9 women in a group together. To take on 9 one-on-one clients would have been a lot. So we were
Yeah.
all kind of talking about the same thing and we were working on the same things. But then what happens is sometimes I have people who do like a testing package and they'll do some accountability coaching for their protocol after that. Or they really want that intense attention and privacy and that one-on-one work where they meet every week and they're really intensely focused on their goals. And so it's really just whatever someone wants. So it's nice to have those different things available.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you do that because I think having an individualized approach to helping people in general is very, very beneficial. And that
Hmm.
way you can make it work best for someone as opposed to trying to make them fit into your structure. So, or
Exactly.
a specific structure. So, um, that's awesome. And I guess one of the questions I have too, like any things, because I think sometimes a lot of people are thinking about, yeah, working with people one on one versus a group. And have you any big differences that you notice or any things you feel like you had to learn or do differently to maybe like run a group or hold the space for a group
Mm.
versus one to one?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. So when I first started the group, again, it's all a learning experience. I found that people weren't as willing to share, what was coming up for them in that group dynamic.
Yeah,
So what I started to do and what has worked really well for me is just a weekly check-in form. I just use a Google form and that has been fantastic. And
awesome.
people love that and they think it's like getting one-on-one but within a group because I'm responding to them individually each week. They also part of my group testing because, or excuse me, my group work because I love the functional testing so much is they get that as a bonus. And so everybody gets an individualized protocol, even though it's part of a group. So that getting that extra certification has kind of helped me to personalize that group component.
Yeah.
But again, the former teacher, I've been able to put, all the information that I was giving everyone that they needed to know about their hormone balance into a portal so that I don't have to waste time on a call, not waste time, but use time on a call kind of teaching. that's all there for them and they have that for a lifetime. So the calls can be used to, talk about what blocks are coming up for them. And that's what we want coaching to be.
Totally, totally.
Yeah,
More of the interaction and the actual coaching work versus the teaching, which can be fun.
exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, and I'm sure your teaching comes in quite handy when it
It
comes.
does. But I mean, I learned that from you. I mean, that's the way you ran your program when I was in it.
Yeah.
We had this, I still go back to that.
Oh,
Just went back
awesome.
recently to do some work on my Facebook group because that training was so good.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, love that. And that sounds great. And once again, it's like such a like you get the power of the group, which I think there's great power in community, period.
Yes, that has been the
Right?
advantage.
But yet still we're all individuals and you're able to give people that individualized attention and approach. And I think that's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so another question I have is how have you changed through the process of starting and growing your business? Maybe how has your life changed? Have you noticed it rippling out to anyone around you? I'd love to just kind of hear your reflections on that.
Mm, mm. I can't remember where I heard it, but I think it's so true, and I repeat it all the time that entrepreneurship is a rocket ship to personal development. Um, and I think that is so, so true. You have to be willing to kind of do that inner work
Yeah,
because there's so much. You can't make all of this about you. So, for example, you have to figure out, well, what do I do when a client doesn't get the results because she's not doing the things that I'm, asking her to do? That work has to be done internally to know that that's not about you. So, I think that has been something that I wasn't expecting, but I do think that it's really helped me with in every relationship in my life, whether it be friends, family, and clients. Just that
totally,
clarity.
totally, totally. That is a big one. That is a really big one that I mean
Yeah.
took me many years to like
Mm-hmm.
not take it personally or make it mean something about me if someone
Mm-hmm.
isn't getting the results or um and it is it's a huge learning experience, of course. So I love that. The rocket ship.
Yeah.
I agree on that. And I often call it like I think of it kind of as like a obstacle course of to personal growth. Because it inevitably will like lead you to all the different things that are showing up for you in your life that have maybe been blocking you or stopping you or limiting you in some way. And it will take you to each of those. And for a lot of people, the discomfort of that and kind of the challenge of that is enough to make them not do their business. I mean,
Yeah.
I maybe a quarter of people who want to start a business end up actually sticking with it, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people will stop within like the first maybe 2 years,
Yeah.
maybe even that first year, just because their desire to have the business and help other people and whatever is not as strong as their desire to avoid the discomfort of what you
Mm-hmm.
have to do.
Yeah. It is definitely, and I love that analogy of the obstacle course because it's true. It's not like, okay, I've arrived. Never bothers me again. It's definitely a journey
It is
and
a
just
journey.
have to constantly work on it.
Yep, yep. And a never-ending journey. I mean, I've been doing this a
Right.
decade and I'm still like always coming across things that are opportunities to grow in additional ways. So
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't see it as a negative. I see it only as a positive.
yeah,
There's just so much benefit to doing that work for everyone. But unless you're kind of forced to do it, not forced, no one's forcing me to run the business, but
yep,
I need to do it in order to kind of be my best self for my clients, I have to be in the right state of mind.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Very, very powerful. Um, for anyone who's working on starting a business or building a business, and maybe they're feeling like stuck, or they're like, things aren't happening fast enough, or I don't really know what I'm doing, or this is really hard. Um, any words of wisdom? I know we've already covered a bunch of things, but any
Yeah.
last things that we didn't cover or talk about that
Hmm.
come to mind?
Well, first of all, we all feel like that, right? I don't think that changes, right? There's always days that we're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but and I think, what I said before about that action kind of breeds confidence, kind of, just you do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah,
Um, and I think the other thing that has been really huge for me, and it started with you, but to be in a group with other people who are business owners. I cannot say enough about that. I think that that is something that you think, okay, I've got my training and now I'm done. And I think that, as a parent, that's something we do for our children all the time. Like, my kids were a figure skater. I had a figure skater and a baseball player. Well, they were always with coaches and this coach for that. My daughter had spin coaches and a trainer, and my son had a betting coach. And put them in activities with people who had the same interests. But
yeah,
as an adult, we don't do that. I don't have any friends or family members who are entrepreneurs. No one knows really what I'm going through. So
yeah,
for me, being in mentorships and groups with other people who are doing the same thing has been huge.
totally. Totally. I love that so much because it is, yeah, I think when you are starting a business, if no one else you know has a business, it's like people don't really get it.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And
No.
it's so helpful to have, I think, both the accountability and the ability to run things by other people that we're thinking about or we feel stuck about or unsure about, just to one, just even be able to hear yourself talk about those things, but also maybe to get perspective from other people as well. Because a lot of
Yes.
times we're just seeing things from our point of view and are not quite able to step back and maybe see things from another point of view.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So last thing is I would love for you to share just where can people find you? Where can they follow along with what you're doing? Tell us the best places.
Sure. Best place, honestly, is Instagram. Just my name, Rose Amonte Yadzio. You can probably link it.
I'll link
Send
it.
me a DM. My website is there too. It's the same name, but Instagram is where I am most often.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know people are
Thank
going to find it
you.
super inspiring. And you've been up to amazing things. You're doing amazing work in the world. It makes me so excited. So, thank you very much, Rose.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.